Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I thought that I would go over my Q1. So instead of doing a monthly what I read or whatever, I'm gonna do a Q1. So the first quarter of the year. This is what I read, this is what I watched for TV and movies. I keep looking kind of to the side because this is where my viewfinder is and that's where I can kind of see what's going on here. I apologize if I'm looking here. If any of the things, any of the graphics are hard to see here, because I'm just kind of testing out this format and this shot, I don't know how well it's gonna translate, I will put them on the screen for you. So let's get into it. Let's start with books. Wow. The first thing I want to talk about is my books by month. January I read 4 books, which is pretty good actually. February I read 1 book, and then March I read 5. So it was very big difference. I read 10 in total. Quick maths. Yeah, and this is really good for me. 10 books in 3 months is kind of crazy. I don't read as much as I feel your normal book influencers. So this is a very good amount for me. There's kind of a reason why I was able to read 10 books in 3 months, and we'll get to that. Moving on. Then I have this pie chart, very pretty, right? The ratings I gave books, okay? So I'll go over it. So the green is 1-star books, how many books I gave 1 star, and so I gave 2 books 1 star. The tan is 2 stars, so I gave 1 book 2 stars. And then the dark blue is 3 stars, so I gave 4 books 3 stars. Then lastly, the pink is 4-star reviews. So as you can tell, I did not leave any 5-star reviews, which is, it kind of stinks a little bit. It's kind of sad that I didn't read anything that I loved, but I covet my 5-star reviews. I try not to just give them out freely. They mean something. I'm gonna back you up. I feel like you're really close to me. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Sorry, shot change. Okay, then I did genre. So this is half the reason I was able to read 10 books, and that is because I read 5 romances, and I can read romances in literally 2 days. Reading 5 of them really allowed me to get far or read a lot. 1 thriller, 1 classic, 1 YA, and 2 literary fiction, which is kind of just fiction in general. Yeah, romance is my really big one. I do like that I have kind of a good array of genres, but I do feel I read so much fucking romance. I will read a romance as much as anybody, but there's not a lot of substance in romances, so I don't feel I'm gaining that much by reading them. They're just kind of fun to do. These are my favorite books of the month. My favorite book in January was Bunny. I'm pretty sure I only read Bunny and romances. And then in February, my favorite book was Him. I had to be. I only read 1 book in February, so this is the winner by default. In March, my favorite book was Circe. Circe is by Madeline Miller, and she also wrote The Song of Achilles. I was thinking about which one I liked more. I do think I like Circe more. I really did like Song of Achilles, and I knew a little bit of the myth around Circe and a little bit of the myth. Actually, I knew quite a bit of the myth around Song of Achilles. So I think I also liked Circe because I learned a little bit more about the mythology, and there was a lot more characters, and I thought Circe was really cool. Okay, next. This one is, did I like the main characters? This right here is yes, and I said 50% yes. I think that's a pretty good rating for characters. I also am a fan of morally great characters, so I think this is pretty good. 20% no, 30% it's complicated. So it's complicated could mean a variety of things. I've listed the it's complicated ones here so I can remember to talk about them. The first one I have, it's complicated, is Bunny by Moa Atwad. It's sitting right here, that's why I was looking. I have Bunny right here. So Bunny was the first one. The main character, Samantha, she was okay. I didn't really like her, but I didn't dislike her, and I liked her friend Ava. I liked Ava, but the bunnies themselves, I don't know. I'll just go over Bunny really quickly. Bunny it's dark academia. So this girl who goes to this MFA program in this really elite school. And so in her program are these other girls, and they're called the bunnies. So there's 4 other girls, and they kind of do they do nefarious deeds pretty much. There's some magic, some supernatural things happen, and it's also I think the writing style of this book is nothing I've ever read. I thought that was really interesting, but the bunnies themselves I found kind of insufferable, and I thought Samantha was just okay, but I didn't hate Samantha, so that's why it's complicated. And then I have It Ends With Us. So this is a Colleen Hoover book. Trigger warning, Colleen Hoover. No, it's mean. I don't want to bully Colleen Hoover. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions. I like this book way more than I thought it was going to. I don't know if I really constitute it as a romance because there's a lot of really serious topics, and I would say very little romance. But I said it's complicated because I thought the main character, who I believe his name is Lily, was okay, but I really like Atlas, who is the love interest kind of in the book. Lastly, I have The Death of Ivan Ilyich. It's Tolstoy. Really like the book in general. I liked his contemplation on life. I like where his mind went. I thought his mind was really cool, but he himself was kind of a shitty person sometimes. He treated people really poorly. He suffered a lot. It's literally about him dying. So in his suffering, he was like really mean to people, but it's like hard to blame him for it. So as you can see, people are complicated, which means characters are complicated. Characters, I would ask to watch my stuff while I ran to the bathroom, okay? POV, you're in a coffee shop and you're typing on your little computer, you're doing your work and you have to go to the bathroom. Who I would be willing to trust to watch my stuff, okay? And of course that means no one. Trust nobody, you dumb bitch. Don't trust anybody to watch your stuff, okay? But in all seriousness, characters I would actually have watched my stuff. The first one is Stella Lane from the Kiss Quotient. Stella Lane from the Kiss Quotient. So that's one of the romances I read. I would trust Stella because she would guard my stuff with her life. She's a very dependable person. She is autistic and it's talked about a lot in the book. Autism affects the things she does and she gets like very hyper focused about things. I think she would really focus on watching my things in the coffee shop. Then I have Wes from Him. Him is a hockey romance. I gave it 1 star. I did like the characters though, but I just thought the book itself was like not very good. I would trust Wes because he would turn it into a game, much like a hockey game. He would guard my stuff like he would guard the net. Okay, then I have Cersei. She is a trustworthy, dependable girly. If you don't treat her wrong, she's not going to treat you wrong is what I'm trying to say. Cersei, I truly believe she is a good person, or a good goddess, or good demigod, whatever. Lastly, I have Atlas from It Ends With Us, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of funny because there's also an Atlas in Cersei, I think. I think Atlas is in Cersei. So, is he in Cersei? Anyways, Atlas is a Greek god name and Cersei is a Greek god, or the daughter of a Titan, I guess. And so I said I would trust Atlas because he's just nice. So, he's just nice, he's a good person, he's very kind. People who I wouldn't trust to guard my stuff. Characters that would steal my laptop. Number 1 is Piper from It Happened One Summer. I believe this was a 1 star. I did not like these characters. I didn't like them at all. It's a small town romance basically, so she comes from the city. She goes on vacation with her sister and so she meets a guy there. But Piper is like very dedicated, but she's kind of like all over the place. So I just think that Piper would like have to leave for an emergency and she'd accidentally take my laptop or something like that. Like I just don't think she would be on top of her game. Then I have Hermes from Cersei. So Hermes is like the messenger god. Hermes is like a sneaky bitch. So he delivers like messages a lot. So he's in on the goss, likes to laugh at people, and he kind of treats people poorly in general. I think Hermes would steal my laptop because he thinks it's funny. Yeah, Mitzi Eris from If You Then Me. Epic Reads gave me If You Then Me. I actually liked it. I thought it was cute. But Mitzi Eris, the book is basically about this girl who's in high school and she is coding and she gets invited to this elite coding school in Los Angeles and her idol is Mitzi Eris. Mitzi is very materialistic and so she would steal my laptop and like sell it for money or something like that. Lastly, I have Ivan Illich from The Death of Ivan Illich by Tolstoy. So I kind of explained it to you already. Ivan is just kind of a greedy guy. Part of his contemplation on life is if he lived his life correctly by being this judge and like going up the ladder and making more money. So I think Ivan, he would steal my laptop. Character Hall of Fame. So these are my favorite characters from the books I read. So as you can see, I have Cersei on here and that's it. Okay, that's the only person I like really liked. I said she has a moral compass for real. She's a nature girly and she's also just bagging gods. Cersei can bag whoever she wants to bag. Cersei was it and that was it. Everyone else was just okay. Okay, moving on. This is jail. These are the people that I disliked so much that they deserve jail. So first up, I have the bunnies. I kind of already told you about the bunnies, but they are really freaking creepy. The bunnies partake in many nefarious deeds. They commit murder in a sense quite frequently. And they are just really, really fucking weird. Then I have Brendan. Brendan is from It Happened One Summer. He is the love interest. He's like from the small town. And Brendan fucking drives me crazy. He is so like commanding and domineering and like not in a cute way. Like he's just like always telling Piper what to do. He doesn't like trust Piper to make decisions for herself. It's not something I would be interested in a guy, I guess. So Brendan, and also this picture, okay, so this is a stock image because it's a book. This stock image is exactly how Brendan is described. Brendan is described as always being in like a flannel and a beanie. They mention the beanie so much and he has a beard as well. So this like is just exactly how he would look. Very stereotypical lumberjack. Okay, lastly I have Pasiphae. Pasiphae is Cersei's sister. She is the one who is married to, oh god, what is his name? I want to say Helios, but I think Helios is their dad. I'll look it up and I'll put the text on the screen. But she's married to like a pretty well-known person. And she's just like horrible to Cersei their whole lives. There is some like definitely redeeming things about Pasiphae, but overall she's fucking horrible. She also F-words a bull. That's how the Minotaur is born. She's like the mom of the Minotaur. And the Minotaur eats people like for many, many years. So she like kills a bunch of people through that. My battery's gonna die soon. Anyway, so Pasiphae is not a pacifist. TV went very well. So starting in January, I watched Fleabag first, which I've talked about Fleabag a lot on this channel. And then I watched all of White Lotus that is currently out, and I watched all of The Bear that is currently out. So the White Lotus is 2 seasons, The Bear is 1 season. I liked all of them. I'm gonna go into a ranking later. So moving on, in February, I watched Conversation with Friends. I almost said Normal People. And I watched The Last of Us. Okay, I've also talked about The Last of Us on here a few times. Conversations with Friends is a Sally Rooney book, which I actually just read at the end of last year. I think I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it. So I had read the book previous to watching the show, and I think I liked the show more because I read the book. Oh, I guess I can show you the book. Okay. Oh, I had Cersei too, and I never showed you that. I also have Cersei here, by the way, just to show you now, I guess. And then I have Conversation with Friends. Frances is the main character. I don't think Frances was anything like how I pictured her. And Bobby is the best friend, which I think this is Frances and this is Bobby. And so I really like that they chose to make Bobby black in the TV show and she was white in the book, or at least based on this cover. I think Bobby was how I imagined her to be in the TV show. Hey guys, I'm interjecting really quickly. I apologize for the low quality camera, but as you'll see, my battery died many times in the filming of this. So I somehow skipped a slide. It was my March slide, and all that was on it, and you'll see, is Succession and The Last of Us, which you saw The Last of Us in February, but The Last of Us didn't finish until March. So I watched like the part of The Last of Us that came out in March, as well as Succession. So that's all, I'm pretty sure that's all I was gonna say, so continue on. Okay, you guys, I had to switch batteries, so if anything changed, I apologize. My batteries keep dying. Okay, I'm back. I guess more didn't make it. I'm thinking that maybe I filmed a clip and then the battery died mid-clip and the clip just didn't save. So the other thing that I guess I don't have a clip of is talking about the beginning of my ranking. So this slide is the ranking of shows I watched throughout the whole quarter. At the bottom I have White Lotus. I liked White Lotus, but I thought it was kind of boring. Like I had a hard time having it keep my attention, and there was so much hype around it that I think my expectations were higher than what was delivered. Then I have Conversations with Friends, which again I liked, but I did think it was kind of slow. It's not very colorfully lit, which I think is probably because it's in Ireland, and I think that's probably like attuned to Irish weather. It really kind of bothered me how the main character acts, because it's just not how I imagined her being. Okay, now I think we're back on track. Hopefully this is the last time you see me. Both Fleabag and Succession I had started and stopped watching because I was like bored. So it's crazy because then I started watching them again and I started watching them again and I like fell in love. The improv in Succession is so fucking crazy. It is so good and so like real. It feels really real. And then on top I have The Bear and The Last of Us. I loved both of these so much. The Last of Us, like I went through like withdrawals afterwards with how much I missed it and how obsessed I was with the content. I think it helps that I had watched gameplays of the video game, so I was already kind of invested in the show and I know a lot of like what happens, so that really helps. But I also think the acting in like HBO in general is so good. And then The Bear is another one that I was so obsessed with. I think the acting is really good. I think the directing is really good. I can't remember his name, Jeremy Allen White, I believe. I guess I just do know his name. He won the Golden Globe for this. Totally agree. This whole show is very good. If you haven't seen The Bear, it's like a show about the main character Carmy, and he's like a New York chef. He's like one of the best chefs in the world. He's really young. He's doing amazing. And his brother passes away and leaves him his shop in Chicago. And so it's him like coming to Chicago and like reconciling with his brother passing away and running this, you know, like Chicago like comfort food restaurant when he was just doing like Michelin star restaurants in New York. There's gonna be a second season, I think in July. Now that I've talked for a million years, that is my ranking, and it was very hard to do. I have my streaming service check. I am so intrigued by this, like how many streaming services like win awards. So the shows I watched this quarter, 3 were from HBO, 2 were from Hulu, which was like kind of good for Hulu. I feel like I don't watch that much Hulu, and 1 was Prime Video. HBO Max was then. I have my favorite characters from each show. From The White Lotus, I have Ethan. I think Ethan is really pretty. He's played by Will Sharp. Will Sharp is British in real life, and that was like kind of really shocking when I heard Will Sharp talk for the first time, because Ethan just looks very American to me. He also gets to date Aubrey Plaza in the show, so he's very lucky. Aubrey, not Audrey. Then I have this blank for Conversations with Friends, because I didn't really like anybody. I kind of think that's the point. All the characters are supposed to be like real and flawed. If you haven't seen Conversations with Friends, it's Frances and her best friend Bobby. Frances is bi, so she's she's dated Bobby, and then she's interested in this new guy who is married. The story's kind of like about Frances being a homewrecker and like dealing with like mental health issues and like health issues and navigating like being in your 20s and being in a sticky situation. It's really, really messy, but I just like didn't particularly gravitate towards anybody in the story. Oh, I forgot I did this. So when I was searching up pictures from the shows, I meant to look up Ethan from White Lotus, and I accidentally searched Ethan from HBO Max, and so it just like gave me this like random list of results, and I was just like looking at it like, it just seems like I looked up some random person named Ethan who works at HBO Max. So my favorite character from Succession is Roman Roy. This one was hard actually because same with Conversation with Friends, a lot of these characters are really flawed. So I don't think anybody in Succession is perfect by any means. Everyone kind of is shitty in some capacity, but I really like how Roman like transforms throughout the show, and I think he's really fucking funny. Fleabag, my favorite character, is the hot priest. I've done a video talking about Fleabag quite a bit, my best and worst TV finale video, so I really recommend that if you're interested in Fleabag. But the hot priest, I really, really love Andrew Scott. I think he's amazing. I like the way he pays attention to people. I like how he interacts with Fleabag. Moving on. My favorite characters from Bear is Carmy. I also relate to Carmy a lot because he has like major overachiever syndrome. He cares a lot about things that I also find really important. So his career, but also his family and his friends and taking care of people. And he clearly is struggling a lot. And so I really like how they portrayed that. The Last of Us, I keep saying this, but it was also really hard to choose. The main two people in it are Ellie, right here by Bella Ramsey, and Joel, played by Pedro Pascal. And I really do like both of them, but I think Bella Ramsey's performance as Ellie is like otherworldly. I think she is so talented. Oh, so I did superlatives. I thought superlatives would be kind of fun. Logan Roy, who is the CEO in Succession, he is the most likely to be president. Okay, I think that's a pretty easy one. Best couple, and this is Cousin Greg and Tom Wambsgans. I realize I've never said that out loud before. The Cutest Couple Award. Who I want to get coffee with the most, which I think isn't a real superlative, but I think it's important. Of all the characters, I would want to get coffee with Claire from Fleabag because I think she would make me feel good about all the mistakes I've made in my life. Give me good advice, I guess. She'd be a very good older sister. Oh, most likely to end up in jail. Most likely to end up in jail is definitely Joel. He's so fucking unhinged. He is a criminal. If you've seen the show, play the video game, you know this is really accurate. Most likely to win the lottery is, what is her name in this even? Well, it's Jennifer Coolidge in The White Lotus. My brain is so empty. I forget everything 2 seconds after it happens. So I think Jennifer Coolidge in The White Lotus, her character, she just has like weird things going for her that if someone was gonna win the lottery, I think she would be the one to accidentally pull some shit like that. Most likely to slip on a banana peel. I think this is actually a bit of a tie, but I put Cousin from The Bear as most likely to slip on a banana peel because I think he would be the one to just do that. But I do think Cousin Greg is a contender for this. I think Cousin Greg is also likely to pull some shit like that and just absolutely eat it on a banana peel. Then I just have movies left and my battery's flashing again. Movies by the month. I watched 7 movies in January, 7 movies in February, and only 3 in March, which is a really low number for me. So I watched 17 movies in the first 3 months, which is pretty good, but I can do better. These are my ratings. I'm gonna go through this quickly because obviously there's a lot going on here. I use Letterboxd to log my movies and that lets you do half stars. I have 1.5 star rating, which means I didn't rate any, only a half star or a 1 star. Then I gave 1 movie 2 stars, 5 movies 2.5 stars, which is kind of rough. Okay, that's this dark blue here. And then I gave 2 movies 3 stars, 1 movie 3.5 stars. I gave 4 movies 4 stars and 3 movies 5 stars, which is pretty good for me. But I will say I know for sure I watched Pride and Prejudice twice in February, so Pride and Prejudice got counted twice in here, okay? So technically I only gave 2 movies 5 stars, but I watched Pride and Prejudice twice. Okay, moving on. My top rating was Pride and Prejudice. I am a Pride and Prejudice stan. It is in my Letterboxd top 4. I said, if Mary broke and turned on everyone, I would not blame her. Yeah. Then I have Michael Clayton was my lowest. I gave Michael Clayton 1.5 stars. Everybody and their mom loves Michael Clayton. It's gotten such good reviews. I added it because everyone loved it so much. I thought it was so boring, but I think maybe if I watched this in like 2010 sometime, I think I would like it more. So my review is, this was so fucking boring and whoever did Tilda Swinton's hair should seek help. Tilda Swinton's hair. I'm just gonna put a picture. Tilda Swinton did not deserve this. This is my percentage of movies that were on my watch list, percentage of movies that I watched just because vibes, and then movies that were rewatches. So most of these movies I watched were on my watch list. 70.6% were on my watch list. 11.8% was just vibes. 17.6% was rewatches. How is it that high? No, I know Dead Poet Society is also in here. So there are some rewatches in here. Okay, I'm gonna try to go fast. My battery just died again and I'm losing daylight. So we're gonna speed run. Hopefully. So the Bechdel test, if you don't know what the Bechdel test is, your movie has to have at least 2 named female characters, and the 2 female characters have to talk to each other, and they have to talk to each other about something that isn't men. 64.7% of the movies I watched passed the Bechdel test, which means 35.3, over a third of the movies I watched did not pass the Bechdel test. And so I have the boo list, and the boo list is the movies I watched that did not pass the Bechdel test. The first one I have is Dead Poet Society, which kind of makes sense because this movie is about a male boarding school, so there isn't very many female characters in it. I believe there is one, and she dates one of the boys who go to the boarding school, and so she's always seen talking to him. I don't think she talks to another female character. Then we have Elvis, which I thought was very interesting. Elvis I watched, did not really like Elvis. It does not pass the Bechdel test. Then I have The Artist. This one, it's kind of interesting because The Artist is a silent film, so I think it kind of makes sense in that sense. There is one main female character in it, and she might talk to other women, but it is also a silent film, so I'm not actually 100% sure how the Bechdel test applies to silent films. Then I have Michael Clayton. Okay, boo, the movie I just said was my lowest rating. Then I have The Grand Budapest Hotel. That one made me sad because it's a Wes Anderson film. I really like The Grand Budapest Hotel, but it does have a lot of male actors in it. I would say there's a few female characters. The main one is Saoirse Ronan, but she mainly talks to the male characters. Then lastly, I have Seven. Seven was okay. I think a lot of people really like Seven. It's a very popular film bro movie. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. It was okay. It does not pass the Bechdel test. So just be aware when you're watching your next movie. Oh, I also thought this was funny. So I was looking up if they passed the Bechdel test or not. I watched The Great Gatsby for the first time all the way through. I think I've seen clips of it before. I'm just really not a fan of Baz Luhrmann films. So I don't know why I watched Elvis and The Great Gatsby within the same quarter. But I looked up, does Great Gatsby pass the Bechdel test? And it says this movie passes 3 out of 3 of the tests, although dubious. I thought it was funny to categorize something as it passes it, but it's dubious. So anyways, that was funny to me at least. So my favorite characters are Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice. It's so interesting because I have Succession on here, obviously. Matthew Macfadyen also plays Tom Wambsgans that I was talking about. And it's so interesting because they just are totally different people. But I love Mr. Darcy, and I also love Jane Austen. Podrick, it's really a really Irish name. He's from the Banshees of Inisherin. I really, really liked that movie. And I really liked Colin Farrell in this. So he plays Podrick. He has a pet donkey, he lives with his sister, he's very cute, very endearing. You used to be nice. Oh, you never used to be. Okay, very lovely. I highly recommend The Banshees of Inisherin. Then I have Todd Anderson. Ethan Hawke in this movie. I love Dead Poet Society, and I love Todd Anderson. He is so cute. He is roommates with Neil Perry. He is very shy. He likes to be part of the group, but he's a listener. He's not a speaker, he's a listener. And he's just very endearing. Then I have Jail, okay? The duality of man, okay? You can only have the good with the bad. So these are the characters that deserve jail. The first one, Mr. Perry. Fun fact, my grandma used to work in a restaurant and she served him, and she served Bill Nye, I believe on the same night. There's a picture, there is proof. Mr. Perry is horrible. Todd Anderson's roommate was Neil Perry. This is Neil Perry's dad, Mr. Perry. Don't know why I didn't mention this in this point. My last name is also Perry, okay? So he's not my dad, but my dad is also Mr. Perry, just not this Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry is a shithead. He is controlling for Neil. He tells Neil what he can do, what he can't do, and he sucks. Jack. This is Jack from Don't Worry Darling. He's played by Harry Styles. Now I just want to say, Jack isn't in jail because it's Harry Styles, okay? I know there's a lot of debate on whether Harry Styles can act or not. That's not why Jack is in here. Jack is in here because he's a shitty person in Don't Worry Darling, okay? Lastly, I have Tyler. Tyler's from The Menu. I really liked The Menu. I would do anything for Anya Taylor-Joy, but Tyler in this movie is shitty, and I hate Tyler, okay? Lastly, Maximum Security Prison. Tom Hanks in Elvis deserves maximum security prison. I don't know what the fuck was going on here. I don't know why they decided to put Elvis the movie through the lens of his manager, whatever the hell this was in Elvis, but it was bad and it shouldn't have happened. Maximum security prison for you. Oh, and that's it, okay? So I have see you in Q2. I feel like this is horribly washed out. I hope you can actually see it. Thank you for coming with me on this journey. I spoke way more than I thought I was going to. I don't know why I'm surprised every time I make a video how much I talk, but hopefully I'm gonna chop this shit up so it's not as long. Thank you for spending this time with me. Please let me know if you read or watched any of these things. I really like that I have like a pretty niche comment section right now. I hope this format was okay, and maybe I'll see you with a Q2 update in a bit. I'm gonna have this up this weekend, so I'll see you later. Peace, love, and happiness. Bye!